The day before my wedding, I suddenly gained the ability to read minds.
Honey, do I look good?
John Smith, checking the wedding guest list, adjusted his gold-rimmed glasses. His clear eyes curved into a smile, and his fair face radiated warmth and affection.
Of course, you look beautiful. You're the most gorgeous girl in my eyes.
Just as Emily was about to shyly cover her face with her hands, she heard John Smith's thoughts.
Her lips are too red. Is she planning to scare the children? And that nose contour, does it have to be so heavy? It looks like she has black sticks on either side of her nose. And...
Enough!
She grabbed the guest list from the coffee table and lightly hit him on the head.
what's wrong? What did I say?
Emily gritted her teeth and looked at him, realizing she truly had gained the ability to read minds. But she was frustrated because, even though she knew he was criticizing her, she had no way to accuse him. The day before her wedding, Emily discovered through mind reading that her gentle and refined fiancé was actually quite petty and critical.
Before the wedding banquet, I want you guys to make sure John drinks heavily. Don't go easy on him because of my dignity.
Emily, what dignity? Every time one of us gets married, you always end up causing a scene. But don't worry, today we'll make sure John pays for it.
Good, no problem.
I gritted my teeth and looked at him, realizing that I truly had gained the ability to read minds. But I was frustrated because, even though I knew he was bad-mouthing me, I had no way to accuse him.
I can't believe this. The day before my wedding, and I find out my gentle fiancé is actually so petty and critical.
To get my revenge, before the wedding banquet, I specifically asked my friends to make sure he drank heavily.
Guys, make sure John drinks a lot today, okay? Don't go easy on him because of my dignity.
Emily, what dignity? You always end up drunk and causing a scene at our weddings. But don't worry, today we'll make sure John pays for it.
Good, no problem.
Emily gritted her teeth as she stared at John, realizing she had truly gained the ability to read minds. Frustration gnawed at her because, despite knowing he was speaking ill of her, she had no way to confront him.
Angry, the day before my wedding, I discovered through mind reading that my supposedly gentle and refined fiancé was actually petty and critical.
Determined to get revenge, Emily made a plan. Before the wedding banquet, she asked her friends to ensure John drank heavily, insisting they shouldn't go easy on him.
Cheerful. Emily, what dignity? Every time one of us gets married, you always end up drunk and causing a scene. But don't worry, today we'll make sure John pays for it.
Excited, good, no problem.
Emily Brown gritted her teeth, realizing that she had truly gained the ability to read minds. Although she knew John Smith was bad-mouthing her, she had no way to accuse him.
I can't believe the day before my wedding, I found out my gentle and refined fiancé was so petty and critical.
Determined to get her revenge, she asked her friends to make sure he drank heavily at the wedding banquet, insisting they shouldn't go easy on him because of her dignity.
Friends, make sure John drinks heavily tonight. Don't worry about my dignity.
Her friends laughed and agreed.
Emily, what dignity? Every time one of us gets married, you end up drunk and causing a scene. But don't worry, today we'll make sure John pays for it.
Good, no problem.
Emily Brown couldn't believe her newfound ability to read minds. It was a blessing and a curse. She discovered her fiancé, John Smith, was not the gentleman she thought he was. Determined to teach him a lesson, she concocted a plan.
James, make sure he drinks heavily at the wedding banquet. No mercy because of my dignity.
Emily, what dignity? You're always the one getting drunk at weddings. But don't worry, today John will pay for it.
Good, no problem.
Back home, John Smith and I went our separate ways. I went to the study to work on some questions, while he went to the bedroom to sleep. He had been enrolled in an official training program by the higher-ups, with 5,000 questions to complete daily, which would be converted into his regular grades. The questions covered a wide range of topics, including sociology, gender psychology, feminist movements, modern marriage views, and more. I gritted my teeth and worked through 2,000 questions, only to find that I had gotten half of them wrong, severely damaging my confidence. Frustrated, I closed my laptop and stormed into the bedroom. I saw John Smith lying in bed, reading a comic magazine.
Hey. You're enjoying yourself too much.
I snatched the book from his hands and looked down, amused by the titles.
Ouran High School Host Club, Boys Over Flowers, Mischievous Kiss, Jean, Story Club. All the books that teenage girls and older women loved. John, you're so cute. I used to read these when I was younger.
Really? I'm studying. My colleague said these can help me quickly understand contemporary women's preferences and partners.
You're a bit behind the times, my dear. These textbooks are somewhat outdated. Your colleagues teaching you this is like the second to last student teaching the last one. One dares to teach, and the other dares to listen.
I lay in his arms, laughing at the books.
Honey, let me give you a tip. If you want to know what kind of guys girls like nowadays, you can ask online.
Okay, teach me.
I took out my phone, searched for keywords, and found many question and answer communities.
This is a bit tricky.
What's tricky?
Obsessive, yandere, crazy. I just understood these terms. But do girls really like these kinds of unhealthy men? I'm afraid I can't find a suitable one.
I was stunned for a moment, then burst into laughter.
You'd have to go to prison to find one.
Really?
No, I'm joking.
I patted my stiff face from laughing and seriously told him.
Nowadays, girls like yandere and crazy types because they're exciting and disregard rules. They are bad to the world but good to you, possessive and indulgent. Girls need a very strong, exclusive love. The most important thing is, they must be good-looking.
John Smith's eyes shifted, and he hesitated to speak. I heard him think, but I'm not yandere or crazy. Will she not like me?
What I just said only applies to the second dimension. In the real world, everyone likes mentally healthy, empathetic partners who can provide emotional value. So, of course, I like you. So, referencing comic magazines might not be useful. You'd better go back to your questions. You still have 3,000 left.
John Smith didn't expect my sudden change of topic and clung to the blanket.
No, you promised me.
Seeing his determination, I had no choice but to persuade him gently.
Honey, you have to face the assessment yourself eventually. If you don't practice now, you'll be anxious during the exam. Practice the questions 800 times, and even an idiot would get it.
John Smith lay back in bed, covering his head with the blanket, and even reached out to turn off the bedside lamp. I wanted to use my pitiful expression to move his conscience. But it was useless. Because I didn't have a pitiful face, and he didn't have a conscience. In the dim bedroom, I thought for a while, then leaned over and pulled the blanket off his head.
He looked at me in horror. If this were a yandere story, it would be described as his eyelashes trembled lightly, the corners of his eyes tinged with a blush, biting his lip in confusion, as if afraid I would eat him.
But in reality, not only could I not eat him, I had to sweetly say to him,
Honey. My voice was so sweet it made John Smith's skin crawl with goosebumps. Don't be like that, I'll give you back the 3-minute kiss.
No need.
Was he not interested in my proactive kiss at all? My enthusiasm waned a bit. But then I heard him think, after all, I I sacrificed more in public.
How about a 3-minute elevator kiss?
His cheeks turned red, and he pulled the blanket up to cover his neck.
That's not good.
At this moment, I heard him think, so exciting.
Then, a subway kiss?
That's a bit too much.
His face turned even redder, but his heart was shouting, yes, yes, yes.
How about a square kiss?
That's too much.
He covered his mouth with the blanket, as if afraid I would forcefully kiss him. At this moment, I heard him think, okay, I agree.
A live-streamed kiss, no more changes.
I slapped the bed, and John Smith jumped up, his face red with disbelief as he looked at me.
A live-streamed kiss?
Yes! We'll kiss passionately in front of the whole world.
The whole world? I only had 10 followers on my account. But he didn't know that, so I could scare this old deity. His face turned pale with fear, and he waved his hands repeatedly.
No need to repay me. I'll go do my questions now.
With that, he got out of bed and walked out. I lay in bed, smiling smugly, ignoring John Smith's sigh from his heart.
Oh, how thrilling! I really want to.
Emily Brown had just discovered her uncanny ability to read minds. She was both astonished and frustrated, especially as she realized that her soon-to-be husband, John Smith, wasn't the gentleman he appeared to be.
Angry, I can't believe he's been badmouthing me behind my back. But how can I confront him without revealing my secret?
The day before her wedding, Emily devised a plan for revenge. She instructed her friends to ensure John drank heavily at the wedding banquet.
Cheerful. Emily, what dignity? You always end up causing a scene when one of us gets married. But today, we promise John will get his comeuppance.
Excited, perfect. Just make sure he doesn't get off easy.
The next morning, John took Emily for a run. They veered into the matchmaking corner of the park, lined with umbrellas displaying matchmaking information. Parents quickly surrounded John, promoting their daughters. He bent down to check each family's information, making them hopeful, then suspicious.
He's completely forgotten why we're here. I have no choice but to wait.
As Emily waited, a cool breeze caught her attention. A bearded man was fanning her.
What's going on? Who are you?
Don't be afraid. I know this might sound forward, but I've been watching you, and I wanted to meet you.
Don't try to flirt with me. My husband is right there.
Marriage is unreliable. Only the passion of the moment is real.
Emily pushed him away and walked toward John, but someone grabbed her wrist.
Enough already! Raises hand to slap, stops. Who are you?
The person holding her was a girl dressed as Harley Quinn.
Anna Williams. Finally, I get to meet you.
The bearded man opened his arms to hug Emily, but Harley Quinn girl pushed him away.
Who are you two?
Nikki Adams, Henry Parker, what are you doing here?
Hey, we're colleagues, not enemies. Can't we hang out with you?
Exactly. Even if you've been demoted, we don't look down on you.
These are my colleagues. Let's find a place to sit.
Half an hour later, they were sitting in a fast food restaurant. Nikki Adams liked to eat fries.
I never knew your duties had evolved so much with the times.
Just because I'm in charge of interspecies relationships, you don't have to be so shocked.
Don't blame her. Even as your colleague, I can't understand why your position is necessary.
Lifetimes of dating within the same species is boring. Humans want to broaden their romantic horizons, and we have to support that.
Yes, you need to be flexible. If you truly understood human needs, I wouldn't have to clean up your messes.
And how well do you do your cleanup job? I match couples, and you break them up. If you don't like someone, you make them fall out of love. Just now, you were trying to tempt Emily into cheating. If you do that again, I'll burn your beard.
It was the first time Emily saw John angry, and she was at a loss.
Hey, everyone's job is important. Let's try to understand each other.
You can't even do your job right, and you're lecturing me? Why don't you go study some more? You drop out.
Apologize, or I'll make you regret it.
Emily's paper tiger threat meant nothing to a real deity.
Wow, your wife sure stands up for you. You better work harder.
Nicky Adams smacked him on the back of the head, making him yelp.
Stop being so annoying. Apologize to our dear John. Everyone has their own job, and no one should look down on anyone else.
Henry Parker grumbled but said nothing more.
Don't be mad. We'll just do our job and ignore him.
Emily is so good to me.
Emily looked up and smiled at him.
So soft. Gently pressing her palm.
Emily gritted her teeth. I gritted my teeth and looked at John, realizing that I had truly gained the ability to read minds. But I was frustrated because, even though I knew he was thinking badly of me, I had no way to accuse him.
You think you're so perfect, don't you?
John looked at me with confusion, unaware of my newfound ability.
What are you talking about, Emily?
The day before our wedding, I suddenly discovered through mind reading that my gentle and refined fiancé was actually so petty and critical.
You won't get away with this, John. I'll make sure of it.
To get my revenge, before the wedding banquet, I specifically asked my friends to make sure he drank heavily, insisting they shouldn't go easy on him because of my dignity.
Emily, what dignity? Every time one of us gets married, you always end up drunk and causing a scene. But don't worry, today we'll make sure John pays for it.
Good, no problem.
I gritted my teeth and looked at John, realizing that I truly had gained the ability to read minds. Frustration bubbled within me because, even though I knew he was badmouthing me, I had no way to accuse him.
I can't believe he thinks that about me.
The day before my wedding, I suddenly discovered through mind reading that my gentle and refined fiancé was actually quite petty and critical.
I'll make sure he pays for this.
Before the wedding banquet, I specifically asked my friends to ensure John drank heavily.
Emily, what dignity? Every time one of us gets married, you end up drunk and causing a scene. But don't worry. Today we'll make sure John pays for it.
Good, no problem.